Are we
A
live?
full 60 weeks with a full head of teeth. And hi, everybody. I'm Mike. This
Are
is
we
Nick.
live?
We are live. Stop doing that.
Oh, sorry.
We're
Are we
live. We are. This is Ask Twinsies. This is a show in which we have nothing better to do. And so what we do is answer your very important questions with very absurd and useless answers. So that is what
Though
we're
the
here
questions really have, the importance of the questions seems to be devolving quite rapidly.
It's up and down, people. I noticed that during this crazy apocalyptic time, there are days that you're better at asking questions than others, and nobody's blaming you. It's okay. But we're going to start with Jessica's question because I think this may be the most relevant. Jessica, this was actually posed by her 2.5-year-old, asks, what shape are you? Nick, round is a shape, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say Adonis, but I'm not sure that that's a shape. Probably a brick, built like a brick. Brick and steel, brick and mortar.
One of those big old cinder blocks. I saw somebody during a riot or whatever. The news camera was following them, and they were walking around with one of those cat houses that has 2 holes in it. And the reporter was like, "Oh my gosh, somebody's walking away with a cinder block!" Like they're going to the, and he's literally just carrying a cat post.
Yeah, it was a cat post. Yeah,
it was awesome.
It was wonderful.
Those are also very dangerous.
Hi, Barry.
More like the shape Nick actually is. All right, Zach asked the question.
Wait. What shape are you?
Round is a shape.
Oh, you went with that one. I see. Yeah,
I'm in shape. Speaking of, Zach asked the question, you can only eat one thing every day for the rest of your life, pizza or ice cream. Nick?
This is a tough one. I feel like just for the nutrition, I'm going to go with pizza.
I feel like it's way easier to make a sweet pizza than it is to make a savory ice cream. You can make a savory ice cream. I've had some. I watch MasterChef. I know how this works. But pizza, what is pizza? Is that a flatbread with cheese on it? You could go anywhere with that. There are assholes putting pineapple and barbecue chicken on their pizza and still calling it a pizza. You can go anywhere with this. I'm going to say pizza.
You can do a lot with a pizza. It doesn't have to be straight cheese pizza the whole time, or pepperoni. But the whole thing about pineapple, sorry, but I'm okay with it.
I will say that I don't like pineapple with ham, but I like pineapple with pepperoni because when you get a little spicy in there with the sweetness, it's actually pretty good. But you got to have the sweet. You got to put the spicy all over, the crushed red pepper all over it, and you get that balance. Somebody named Nicole Whalen says, hey, pineapple pizza is the best.
Yeah, I am going to agree with your wife, and welcome to Carolina Elephant as well.
Are there any divorce attorneys on this particular broadcast? Hey,
you were one.
I have to point something out. There is someone, I don't know if you can see this, there is someone named Rick Robb, who I don't think that's his actual name, and he always posts the word interesting, ... And what's funny is he posts that about literally anything that I post or say on this thing, and I've got to feel like, of all the things I've ever said, this is not interesting. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, I think of all the things that you've said, there's a lot that isn't interesting. So this is...
He's got a low bar.
I mean, yeah, Rick Robb has got a low bar.
Hey,
and do you have a troll in this group? Is that what's happening?
Somebody in the audience named Nicole says, hey, I have a question. What do I do if my husband doesn't appreciate me? Nick?
Good question, Nicole. That is when you want to call Aaron Levine at Hello Divorce and see what your options are. And then also try to start stealing money from the family because you want to really set yourself up here for a comfortable after marriage experience.
Yeah, as a highly unqualified therapist, what I would encourage is what I call the mirroring technique, where if you want your husband to be appreciative, cook a lot, be sexually pleasing, you do all those things because who knows, you're just mirroring. You're trying to project that behavior. It'll probably work. You should try it, Nicole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carol asks an interesting question. What is the dumbest techie question someone has ever asked you, Nick?
Yeah, this is a tough one. There's been so many, and usually they come from a parent, or but I sometimes get them with customers who can't log into their account. This is the worst one that I get is my password isn't working, and it's because they have the caps lock on. So that's frustrating. That's very, very frustrating.
Have I ever told you the Fassy Meal story?
It feels so long. I'm not sure I want to hear it.
So I had a law office with my partner, Angela. We had a young lady who worked for us. She was in her young 20s, came from New Jersey. Interesting gal. Angela and I are having a meeting one day. She's pulling stuff, documents in and dealing with calls and whatever. Angela and I are having a meeting. She knocks on the door, interrupts us, and says, "Hey, what's a Fassy Meal?" And we were like, "I'm sorry, a what?" She says, "A Fassy Meal." I said, "Where are you getting that from?" She said, "Well, I got this letter just now. It says right here, via Fassy Meal."
Oh, no. Oh,
Facsimile,
wow.
people. Facsimile. That's how you know.
Ouch.
That's my favorite ridiculous techie story. Keith wanted some clarification on the rules for this show. He asked, "Can I ask home repair questions?" Nick, are we remotely qualified to answer home repair questions?
No, we are not, but we will. I will answer them. But then Keith just disappeared with no home repair question. The question was, can we ask home repair questions? The answer is, please do.
Yeah, the good news is we're not qualified to answer freaking anything that you people ask. We don't know what you're doing here. Home repair questions are welcome. Though, if I answer them honestly, my wife might think I can actually do those things, and my ability to dodge them will
I
not
have
last.
to. I'm gonna talk over you there because that sounded boring. And what I'd like to say is it's surprising that we haven't got auto repair questions yet either. I'm a little hurt by that.
I wouldn't know.
We're not qualified to answer it, but I would expect we'd get one yet.
Semina Cluck asks, would you rather fight a gnome, an elf, or a liger?
There's a tough question. Great question by Semina. Probably huge deposition skills in her past. I thought about this, and I feel like the gnome is the easiest battle in this one. I get out the lawnmower and I go right for the gnome. Because it's usually found in the yard somewhere.
Yeah, it's tough because elves shoot bows and arrows. And they're super gorgeous and probably want sexy time, so that's just a distraction. Gnomes have pointy heads and lives in gardens, and I don't know in a battle where that pointy head would go, so that makes me a little nervous. A liger, like a sex panther, works 50% of the time every time, so I feel like
60%.
Is 60% the reference? I feel like liger is the answer.
Really? I feel like that's very dangerous, and you're not real fast. So, and you're going to look like a meal to a liger.
I have nunchucks.
Yeah. Mark Palmer mentions that he got this techie question recently. I sent you the wrong fax. Can you fax that back? Yes.
Send it right back.
Real client question.
Just
impressive.
Just send that.
Johnny Finch is now waving because we haven't recognized him yet for being in the room.
Johnny Finch is here.
Johnny.
Johnny's
Finch. Here.
Johnny's here. Johnny Finch. When you're in a pinch. Veronica asks a question that I don't have a lot of context for: regular or decaf?
Yeah, I thought about you not having context for this, but you do love a Monster, which is like 10 times more powerful than coffee. So I don't understand why you don't have a reference here. That said, why would you go with decaf? It all tastes bad. So
here's what I was wondering. Are there people who love coffee so much that they can't have caffeine, but they'll go drink a decaf? And if so, if you really love coffee, are they making artisanal decaf coffees? Are there good decaf coffees? You don't go into Starbucks because they have the best decaf coffee. So by default, if you're drinking decaf, aren't you drinking a terrible coffee? And therefore your love for coffee is not fulfilled? What's the purpose?
I don't get it. It all tastes bad according to me. So why do the unleaded version?
That's a good question. Jim asks another good question. He asks, is the movie Jurassic Park based on real events?
Yes, it is. Just tell Jim. He'll just run with it. He'll tell his family, and we can laugh about it later.
My wife and I have been watching Handmaid's Tale together this week, based on true events. I'm just saying.
Yeah, don't worry. Jurassic Park's going to happen.
It's really
we just haven't got there yet.
I'm hoping what happens is that we get into the Handmaid's Tale stage, and then right after that, the dinosaurs come back because, we just need to shift as quickly as we can.
Yeah, Johnny says this show is really good without you guys even trying, which is...
Definitely not trying.
Yeah, that's what we do.
It's all the time.
There's a full 25 minutes put into this each week.
Gabriella asks the question, kale or lettuce?
It hurts me to have to say this, but kale.
I'm legit trying to remember the last time I had lettuce.
I can't stand lettuce, and I don't like salad because it's such a pain in the ass to try and stab the lettuce. And I would stab at it. Okay. Go ahead. What's your commentary?
I'm just thinking kale because kale is sturdy enough. You can put it in soups and stews and things that have fat in there. The problem with lettuce is that it's really hard to add fat to without it becoming all wilty and weird, but kale will stand up to it. So take your kale, cover it with fat and butter and cheese, and tell people you're eating healthy.
Yep, you can do a heck of a lot with kale.
I'm a healthy...
Lettuce is boring.
Healthy eater. Gabriella then asks a question more in our wheelhouse. Chocolate chip or oatmeal raisin?
Yeah, and I was angry with Gabriella for asking this question because nobody does oatmeal raisin.
Why don't you just put kale in the cookie, you terrorist?
Yeah. That is just disgusting. Get the raisins. The raisins have never belonged in cookies.
It's a waste of flour. If I'm going to put carbs in my body, they're going to have chocolate too.
Yep.
I got a question from the broader audience. Someone, first name Maya, last name Waylon, asks, how do you tell your dad that he's not as funny as he thinks he is, and that he talks too much, and that it's getting worse? Hashtag asking for a friend.
Yeah, I think Maya, you're going to have to go directly to the heart on this one because I, too, think your father talks too much, and whoever he is. So I think you're going to have to just talk to him about it, almost like an intervention, and just sit him down and have a discussion with him about his lack of funniness and his exhausting talking. How would you answer this, Mike?
I think if your children are asking these questions, you as a father are doing exactly what you're supposed to do.
Oh, is that for failing, you mean?
The job of a father is to embarrass and to make things awkward, okay? That is why we exist. It's our superpower. Speaking of superpowers, Barry asked the classic question, I need to get one superpower. Do I go with ability to fly or invisibility?
So I thought about this, and I feel like the flying would be fun. Was there a time limit on his as well?
He said, I have a limited time opportunity to receive a single... I think we're just creating exclusivity so people rush and buy their superpower.
Oh, yeah. I kind of think I want to go... Since I'm no longer a 14-year-old boy, I'm going to go for flying as opposed to invisibility. Because you know how a 14-year-old would abuse that. But...
Every 14-year-old boy? That's a lot of assumptions going on there.
Yeah, every. But the flying just seems more fun.
The problem with this particular question, as I received it, initially I was like, ooh, I have a superpower, therefore I'm a superhero, therefore I'm going to do something good with this. And so I was trying to think of which would be more useful for humanity, and I immediately was like, that wasn't in the question. Why does it have to be about anybody but me?
Yeah, it shouldn't be. Because just because you fly doesn't mean you can carry anything heavy. It just means you can fly. So you can't, just go save somebody.
Yeah. I would go fly and try to stop the plane that's crashing down, and I'd go kersplat. Invisibility, you can do a lot of good things with that. Apparently, Nick would stalk young girls. What I would do is get people's PIN numbers. No, what I would really do is find subtle ways to serve my wife right? I would pay attention to her needs, the
Yeah.
things she doesn't say to me, so that I can get intel on how I could appreciate her better and show her that appreciation.
And Johnny Finch says invisibility is for perverts, so that's what you just chose.
Johnny Finch would know. Speaking of Johnny Finch, he asked the question, legalize recreational drugs or no speed limit on the highway?
I'm going to go with legalize drugs. Feel like we've got a lot of problems in that area that just doing away with that might solve. And otherwise, it would just be kind of fun.
I'm going to say both, like at the same time.
Mm.
Mix them together.
Ooh.
See what happens. You know, it's experimentation. You want to fail forward. You know what I'm saying? You want to fail fast, fail forward. Just try something, right? Just put it out there. See what happens. You don't know. Mix them together.
Okay, fair.
Same time.
Going for a whole, just sort of an anarchy feel there, aren't you?
But hi. Mark asked the question, will the elbow bump greeting edge out the handshake going forward? So at future conferences, will we even try to go in for the, or will we do the, like, what do you say?
I prefer the elbow bump because I know all of you are filthy humans, and so I'm hoping that it sticks around.
Yeah, people are gross. We keep trying to tell you guys, people are gross. People have been gross. This thing that women are suddenly realizing how gross men are, were you not paying attention this whole time?
Gross.
We've tried to tell you.
Terrible.
How gross these people are. You think children are gross. Men are handling way weirder things than children, and they are gross. I don't think that the elbow bump will replace. We also got the comment from Colin. He says, I like hugs.
I think that was meant for a different thread, but I like that you threw it in here.
Doesn't matter. I think that's the answer, is hugs. Actually,
I don't want to get closer to people.
yeah, I hug when I'm with people, but I feel like right now I don't have like a burning need for people to touch me. I don't feel like I miss that. I would be okay right now in my world with no one touching me. My parents didn't go 18 years of withholding affection from me for me to be the kind of person who accepts hugs, okay?
Yeah.
A lot of good work.
So there you go, Nicole. Sexy time's out. He doesn't need it.
So I'm sexy elf. Rebecca from across the pond asked the question, favorite European city? Are you a traveler?
In my youth, Michael, in my youth. Yeah, no, I think my all-time favorite was probably Geneva, Switzerland. Was really great. And there was another, I'm trying to think of it. I can't think of it on the top of my head here. There was another place in Switzerland. I was very happy with Switzerland. I thought it was a great place to hang out.
And I think both things are legalized there, both drugs and no speed limit.
And no speed limit, and probably prostitution as well. I mean, so it's just a fun place.
Correlation is probably causation, people. I will have to say, I've only ever traveled to Italy, and I will have to say Naples, Italy was my favorite. Napoli is a crazy town. It both smells terrible and wonderful at the same time. The food is the best. Everybody's on strike all the time. People live with their moms till they're 50. It's the weirdest place, and I just adore it. I love Napoli.
I like it.
Jim asked the question, which is more important, legal or tech?
One is no better than the other, Jim. You must combine them.
It's like Voltron?
Yep.
Like, what's the purpose in the Yellow Lion?
Stronger together.
If we're being honest. What's the Yellow Lion even for? I don't know. I sort of feel like, I will say, which one is likely to get you sued? The answer is legal. So if we're talking about strictly in terms of you want to CYA a little bit, this is why not many things get tried on the tech side, because the regulations are so restrictive on the legal side. And so we're forced to pay more attention to these rules, which of course were just made up by some people 100 years ago, like whatever, we just chose these. But I would definitely, I hate to be that guy, but I would say probably legal for the purpose of legal tech. Is that wrong?
Yeah.
I know.
Go. Next
So bad.
question.
Jason asked the question, is Dr. Evil actually evil?
Yeah, he is. So he's incompetent evil, but he's evil. He does kill some people. He does do some pretty heinous things. They're funny, but yeah, I think he's an evil person.
I mean, it's pretty good on the whole, you know.
He's not the worst evil person we've ever seen.
But he
right?
didn't go through 7 years of evil school to be called Mister.
Yeah, obviously. All right. Yep.
Sorry, maybe we're getting too old for that. Natalie asked the question, I would do anything to protect a manatee except harm another manatee, but what if by harming a manatee you could save 2 manatees, and what if the manatee you'd have to harm is pregnant? Trolley problem with manatees. What say you, Nick Rishway?
Yeah, so in no part in her question did she ask, can I save the manatee instead of the human? And so I was like, oh man, I don't know how to answer this, because definitely, or can I sacrifice the human to save the manatee? That's definitely what I want in this situation. Other than that, definitely deep philosophical thought for a different show.
Yeah, here's the issue for me. Manatees are assholes, and if they get on a trolley, they get what they deserve. But the problem is they live in Florida, and if I've got to choose between a manatee and Florida man, I'm choosing the manatee every time.
Does it have to be just a Florida man? I mean, really, any man versus an animal. You just choose the animal. We're all better off.
Yeah, unless you're Jack London. Elmer asked the question, what would be your perfect Saturday morning cartoon pitch, and what cereal pairs best with it? So, Nick, cartoon that needs to exist.
Yeah. This is I had struggled with this because I miss Saturday morning cartoons. I want to see DuckTales just keep coming back over and over.
One redo after another.
Just keep bringing it back. It was perfection. Can't be messed with.
Make Sony buy it so that every 5 years they have to relaunch it.
Yes.
So that they don't lose the licensing.
Exactly like that.
And then you could have like a Spider-Man DuckTales overlap.
Absolutely. I'm fine with it.
Ecstasy. You know, the cartoon that I really think needs to exist is 1984. You just don't see 1984 for children, and it's super important. I think the cereal would be all brand, not the little ones, the little pellets that are like grape nuts, the stick ones that get stuck in your throat. 1984 all brand sticks. I think that's...
I feel like you're just wanting people to grow up unhappy, sad. That doesn't... But, I mean, as far as the paired perfect cereal with DuckTales, I feel like Lucky Charms or even a Golden Grahams would fit in this one.
Captain Crunch Berries. So my kids tonight, I didn't want to cook, so I got them one of those roasted chickens and salads and some bread, and I gave it all to them, and I told it. So I went back in the kitchen. They're all eating Captain Crunch Berries.
Well, that's what happens when you bring lettuce into a meal.
That's the lesson, people. Jason asks a real question.
I know. Why?
What is the biggest gap you see between legal education and legal practice? Put a different way, if you could add one class to the required law school curriculum that would set most students up for success, what is that class?
Yeah, perfect question to ask two guys who don't practice law, right? Obviously, my thought is some form of a legal technology class, but I don't know that sets them up necessarily for the practice. Maybe teaching people how to use QuickBooks so that they can do their accounting.
Or the FASIMEal. If you can use a FASIMEal, you'll be okay. You know, I went to a law school and proposed a course. It didn't go very well, but I said to them, we do a bad job of teaching lawyers to think in big pictures, and so I proposed like a legal systems design class, which will take real issues and you use systems and design thinking to fix it, and that didn't go over well. So, though I normally joke about my University of Texas School of Law $8,000 class on Eastern European law in transition, that was actually probably my favorite class because it gave me like a big picture idea of what was going on and how the law was being used to move some kind of social thing forward.
Good God.
It's not all about transactions, people. That's all I'm saying, okay? But In absence of that, I think a Fassi meal class is probably the right way to go.
Fassi meal, yeah. That's good. That was a serious question. Too serious, almost.
Last
Does he
question.
not know us?
He's never heard of us. He doesn't care, okay? He's a much bigger deal than we are. Doesn't care what we have to say.
Right.
Hi, Jason. Not that you're here. So Shreya asks the wrap-up question that is poignant. It is deep. It is thoughtful.
Sounds like a Shreya question.
It hits us where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
3 options, Nick. Rock, paper, scissors.
Scissors. It's always scissors. What are you doing?
I'm just a little emotional. It was really good.
Are you rock, paper, or scissors?
I'm trying to fake cry. I'm trying to make myself fake cry.
Yeah, you're bad at this. This is... welcome to my world, Nicole Whalen says.
It's coming. I'm gonna...
Scissors, there's just more uses for them.
Can't do that. I am a paper person because my daughter, who is the only person I play this game with, picks rock every time. And so I like to dominate her by choosing paper and never let her win. And she cries and goes to sleep. And that's what I like.
So it really is more about your opponent, right? So you vary your choice based on the opponent.
I think it's important to add that my wife responded, scissors, so you can cut a bitch. And with that, thank you guys for joining Ask Twinsies. Remember, we're doing this every Sunday because we don't have a life. Make sure that you ask questions this week using the Ask Twinsies hashtag. We will answer freaking anything because we're super bored. We're so bored. Thank you, Nick.
And get your friends to ask questions.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you next week.